There was a time on this planet when everything was big. Giant lizards, dinosaurs, huge men, giants, and creatures we wouldn't even believe they ever existed. Those days are gone now, and things are in sizes we can comprehend or fathom. The story of huge giant men isn't easy to explain. We don't know if man was actually a giant, and if some of these giants still exist today. But let's do some digging and see if we can find some answers to these bugging questions. Let's look at 10 of the most mysterious discoveries about giants. Miamisburg Giant. In Miamisburg, you will find a mysterious mound that is one of the world's most remarkable and tallest ancient mounds. Excavation isn't so much around here, but back in 1869, a partial excavation was carried out to reveal a skeleton. A tree bark stretched over the skeleton 8 feet downward. Right beside the skeleton was also a vault. The skeleton had an unusually large jawbone and usually large parts, measuring about 9 feet in length. A professor from the Smithsonian Institution, Thomas Wilson, got wind of the news and went over to the location to confirm it. He claimed that the skull found was beyond any reasonable doubt. A short while later, the skeleton disappeared just like the many others on this list. Could it be that the Smithsonian experts or some people are deliberately destroying evidence about the existence of an ancient race of giants? The Cresap Mound. The great Greek poet Homer once wrote about giants roaming the earth. If we are to judge by the many reports of giants at the Cresap Mound in West Virginia, it wouldn't be so hard to believe Homer's words. Research shows that these mounds were built by the Native Americans from the Adena culture around 200 BC. That's all we know about them. Giant skeletons have often been unearthed from mounds, and the first report came in 1774. A man named Jack Parsons found a femur 7 inches longer than average. In 1838, several skeletons were found around the modern-day mounds in West Virginia. Another report from the 1850s talks about 2 giant skeletons measuring more than 7 feet. Reports about giants in the Cresap Mounds kept coming in from the late 1800s to the early 1900s and left you wondering if giants had indeed existed. The Island of Catalina. Almost everyone has seen Indiana Jones. A man named Ralph Gilden carried out exploits that can only be compared to a real-life Indiana Jones between 1919 and 1928. The Island of Catalina is located off the coast of Los Angeles. Ralph dug up about 800 grave sites on this island and turned up about 4,000 human skeletons. Among these remains were skeletons measuring 7 to 9 feet tall. He also found an imperial funeral site that gave up a giant skull surrounded by 64 infant skeletons, including clothes and artifacts that could have only belonged to someone of enormous body proportions. The things Ralph found were documented with pictures and notes and were very compelling, but most of the bones he found crumbled to dust after being exposed to air. Only skulls and jawbones were left behind. In 1962, he sold his collection of bones for a fortune of $5,000. Unfortunately, museums didn't have catalogs back then, so one could prove that he handed in these bones. This puts Ralph's discoveries to the test. Could he be lying after 5 differently funded expeditions? Nonetheless, it's proof the giants might have existed. The finger. About 9 years ago, a fleshy bone was discovered by an old man known to come from a grave robber dynasty sometime in the 1980s. A man named Gregor had paid $300 so he could see this fleshy bone and take videos of it. Gregor didn't know that the fleshy bone he paid to see didn't belong to a horse or a mastodon. This fleshy bone measured 33.8 centimeters and likely belonged to a human who had died years back. The speculation about this fleshy bone was because of how it looked. But for any man to have a finger this long, he would have to be at least 15 feet tall. If history books are to be believed, no Homo sapien was that tall. The only explanation is that this finger was cut off the hand of a giant a long time ago. When Gregor went back to look for this fleshy bone, both the man and the finger had somehow disappeared into thin air. To date, this story still hasn't been verified. The giants of Lompoc Rancho. You could say a skeleton that measures 8 feet in length could be a case of someone that is just really tall. How do you explain a skeleton that towers at 12 feet or more? If this truly existed, that's undoubtedly a giant. In 1833, a team of Mexican soldiers somewhere in Lompoc Rancho dug up a skeleton with gigantic proportions. At least, that's what they claimed. The soldiers were digging a powder pit one morning when they discovered a skeleton measuring 12 feet. Along with the skeleton were many carved shells, blocks covered with writings, and stone axes. The soldiers panicked, thinking what they had found was a bad omen, and they reburied the remains somewhere where no one would find them. Local stories about ancestors fighting giants are prominent in the area, but scientists are confident that without proof, these are just cryptids, things claimed to exist but have never been proved to exist. The Giant of the Pucketts Cave. This story is from Steelville, a small town in Missouri. Back in 1933, Billy Hartman was on his way to a cave with the hopes of finding arrowheads and Indian relics. The cave was called Pucketts Cave and wasn't too far from Billy's family home. Billy wasn't aware of something lurking in the dark parts of the cave. He noticed some bones from the underground and pulled them to the surface. He knew there were more and hurried home to call his parents and come back with a spade. The skeleton they discovered measured 8 foot 6 inches in length and was moved to an exhibition office. The story was featured in a verified Steelville newspaper ledger and accompanied a photo of the skeleton. So far, it seems to be a discovery with veritable proof. Are you convinced? The Great Serpent Mound, Ohio. The Great Serpent Mound is the most extensive snake-like effigy to be discovered. In 1894, Warren Cowan was hunting for foxes near one of these serpent mounds when he came across several ancient grave sites. These grave sites were lying on a high piece of land in Ohio and had massive limestone slabs measuring at least a foot wide and 3 feet in length. The top of these graves is about 2 feet below its immediate surface. Cowan began to dig up these graves, hoping he would find something special. Cowan found human skeletons measuring at least 6 feet inside some of these graves. Experts were called in to investigate, and they believed without proof that these skeletons must have been giants from the biblical order called the Nephilim. This giant race was believed to result from a union between angels and women, but we can't tell whether they exist or not for sure. The Big Dude from West Hickory. An excavation was being led by William Thompson in West Hickory when a massive helmet was discovered. It was rusted with dust, and its size was proof that it couldn't have belonged to the average man. Moments later, a sword estimated to be about 9 feet in length was also found. This is probably the largest discovery on this list. The skeleton found measured 18 feet in length, but some people claim the bones were glued together. According to the news back then, the skeleton was transported to a nearby museum. Somehow, this discovery didn't make the history books. Sounds like a lot of cover-ups are going on here. Either that or someone found out it was fake and kept it secret. We really don't know. All we can do is wonder. The Governor's Giant. Construction workers were tasked with excavating the cellar of a governor located between the streets of Main and Valley at Des Moines County in Iowa back in 1856. While carrying the work, they came across an old vault whose owner remains a mystery to date. The vault was measured to be about 10 feet square, 6 feet deep, and almost 14 inches thick. The workers thought they would find valuable things like gold or diamonds, so they opened the vault. Nothing could have prepared them for the 8 human skeletons with gigantic proportions. Talk about skeletons in one's closet. According to eyewitnesses, these bones were laid up with cement and were just above 8 feet in length. These bones were still in excellent shape, making them some of the largest bones ever found intact. We can't help but ask ourselves, did these skeletons belong to giants or not? The Giant of San Diego. In 1895, people looking for treasures found a cave near San Diego, California. Inside this cave, they claimed to have found a giant that measured over 9 feet. The skeleton was complete, and its clothes and skin were still intact. A year after its discovery, the skeleton went on exhibit as the last known evidence of giants. This was when it caught the attention of experts from the Smithsonian Museum. The Smithsonian Institution proposed to buy the remains for $500. That was a lot of money back then, but they wanted to analyze a portion of the skin before the purchase. After their analysis, they claimed the sample wasn't even skin, but gelatin. The whole giant remains were dismissed as a fake, and the exhibitor was proven innocent. You haven't been paying attention if you haven't wondered why the Smithsonian Institution keeps coming up. They keep debunking every giant find as if they are dedicated to keeping the existence of these large beings secret.